Making money like a mint, laying in my ice like shrimp. Mint condition that I'm in, coming with the freshness.
Hey, so this video is going to be a little bit different than usual. I already mentioned this in one of my previous build videos, but basically what happened is I built out my rear walls one way, filmed everything, didn't really like how it turned out, so I ripped it all out, redid it, but didn't film it the second time. So for today, what I'd like to do is kind of show you just the original footage I have, go through maybe what I messed up, and then show you what it looks like now and how I got there. So enjoy. Peace. Okay, so this was a frustrating 2 days, but really happy so far with how these side panels have turned out. I basically had two options. I could shiplap this whole thing and make it come out all the way to where my bench seat will be, and then it would basically be one flush wall, or do this, which would give me like this nice little lip, so I'll be able to put a nice piece of wood here and have a little ledge, and it'll just kind of add some depth to the van. And you know, we could put little trinkets or whatever on there, but huge pain in the butt. I'm basically going to trim all this out so you're not going to see any of those gaps. Same with this side, and then a nice piece of wood for the ledge. And yeah, it's starting to come together. So I wasn't really happy with how this project was turning out. At this point, it doesn't look great, but I felt like I could still finish it off with what I was thinking in my head. But it required quite a bit of trimming out, and I wasn't really thrilled with kind of how I built the structure behind the shiplap. In this picture, you can sort of see where I was going with it. I think the little ledge would have been a cool feature, but it just wasn't going as planned. So I decided to rip it all out and start over. The tricky part with these rear panels is that you don't really have a lot of metal to work with. The window is installed in this really thin piece of sheet metal, and you can't really put screws into it or you'll basically go through the outside of the van. So really your only options are using the supports around the panel and also maybe trying to figure out how to take advantage of the window that's installed. That is, if you've installed a window in that panel. So here's how I ended up building out the rear walls. I first built a frame for the window using poplar 1x3s. The frame is built in a way that it's just like perfectly fit around the window. It's tight enough that I could basically just let it sit there without any screws or glue, and it wasn't going anywhere. I then cut some 3/4 inch ply for the supporting pieces. So you can see here, I cut 2 pieces in a way that the pieces would run all the way from the bottom metal beam to the top beam. And then in the middle, that piece goes from the bottom metal beam to the bottom of the window frame. And then the top piece goes from the top of the window frame to the top metal beam. I took all those pieces together and attached them with glue and pocket screws. And then I attached that entire piece of art that I created to the van using sheet metal screws. You can also see that I have 1x2s running across the top and left part of the panel, so I was able to screw into those as well. After that, it was simply going back and forth with my miter saw and my jigsaw, getting all the pieces of shiplap cut so they fit nicely around the frame. Yep, so that looks quite a bit better. All right, so a lot of people have asked, hey, what can I do about that weird vertical beam in the ProMaster? So if we go back to this picture and look again, you can see that I have this really nice flush wall to work with. It goes from the paneling behind the kitchen to the vertical beam to the shiplap, all nice and even. All I had to do was basically build a box that conforms with the curve of the van and then connects the kitchen counter to the upper cabinets. You can see here that the wires are coming through that metal beam and then they'll be nicely tucked away inside of the beam that I built. So here's what the beam and the wall looked like without any trim. Still some work to do at this point, obviously, but it does look a lot better than what we started with at the beginning of this video. All right, we're back in the van and this is the final version of the wall. So I ended up creating this outer frame to basically cover the interior frame. There's a little gap around it, but it also just kind of makes the wall pop a little bit. And I used poplar 1x3 for this frame and then just used nails to secure it to the shiplap. And this frame is really nice as well because you can just set your drinks and your phone on here while you're just chilling. And like I said, I think it just makes the wall look a little bit nicer. So I know there was a lot of talking in this video. That's not how I usually like to do these build videos, but I thought it was really important to go through this because for me anyways, it was one of the most frustrating parts of the build. So hopefully it helps somebody. And as always, I will be continuing to post videos throughout my van build. So if you are interested, please subscribe and we'll see you next time. Phew.